We are live.
Okay.
Praise the
I want to thank everyone of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have two very special guests to myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast. They're going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than the multifaceted and talented brother Charles and sister Katrus. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sir.
Assalamu alaikum to you, soldier, and thanks for being so patient with me.
Yes, sir. It's no problem at all. Um, the first of all, to everybody who's watching, this amazing couple was very close to my parents and many people in Chicago, and they watched us grow up, and we always love your children and just love you all, and you are like aunts and uncles. So we salute you and honor you for all of your years of putting in work for the Nation of Islam. Um, the first question that we have for you, Brother Charles, is what is right now people are sharing on Facebook and social media the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan traveling around the world. What are some of your favorite memories with traveling, overseas?
Well, as a matter of fact, the for some reason the first thing that pops into my mind was when your father asked me, "Did I want to go overseas?"
Mm.
And I'm like, "Do I want to go overseas?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan wants you to pick out a crew and to get ready to go overseas. We have a world tour, and that was the first thing. And then I asked him, can I pick out just brothers or sisters? He said he would get back to me. And I think Sister Sophia said I could pick out two sisters,
Mm.
and uh, and we picked out two sisters just to give them the opportunity to videotape with us. And I remember I had his brother Joseph, who was no longer with us right now, because he came in the video crew when I came in
Mm.
around 1980. Well, I guess around 1980, 81. And our first trip was that we visited. First country was Gabon, Central
Mm.
Africa, and that was such a trip. As a matter of fact, I remember when the doors opened on the plane, and I was getting ready to walk out. I was sitting next to Akbar, and he said, "Are you okay, brother?" I said, "Yes, sir." I said, "I think I'm looking for Tarzan." And he's a Tarzan. Then he put his arm right. He said, "We got a lot of work. We have a lot of work to do with you, brother, don't we?" Now, I was joking because I only remember watching Africa from the Tarzan point of view, from the movies and everything, So, and I remember thinking that I would never go overseas,
Mm.
but the work was a lot, and it was a tremendous honor and experience to see Africa and different parts of Africa. And Gabon, it was the first country that we visited, and I had taken French in school and high school, no, actually in college, and I used to think that I would never use the French, but I was able to use a little French to get along there in Gabon. I had to relearn French because
Mm.
French was their colonial language, but it was such a, oh my goodness, I just can't. It was so overwhelming. I remember we was on a bus from our hotel to go visit where the minister was staying, and we saw Dick Gregory walking down the street. and, uh, and we hollered at him. I said, "You want to ride?" He said, "No, I'm walking. I'm okay." He said, "Oh," we said, "Okay." And but it was so overwhelming just to see the natives and everybody that we seen was very very uh, grateful and gracious and happy to see us. From what I remember, I don't remember any negativity, to tell you the truth. Even though I've
Mm.
heard some people in America say, "Well, the Africans, they don't like you, or they don't like us." I said, "Well, I don't know who told you that. When I seen, they are gracious to see us, and they want to see us, So, and the only time that I've heard anything not even negative is that when we was in this a conference, is the African American Summit in Gabon. It was in the central. It was in this auditorium, and there was about 40 African countries around. And Lou L. Sullivan invited Minister Farrakhan to address the summit. And Well, we was in the middle of the floor with our camera and recording unit, and I remember I got a request from well, actually an order or a request from I'm not sure it's from uh, Mustafa, the Supreme Court. He said that Mr. Farrakhan wants you to record some of the other people also. I said, okay, yes, sir. And so I had to get an audio feed from this particular box, and the box had different languages on, so I switched to English, and so we was recording some of the other Africans speaking. Before then, I was really set up basically just to record the Minister Farrakhan, but I said, okay, let me follow my instruction, and I do remember one of the Africans saying how uh, that how we realize we are affected by the colonized. I remember him saying that. He said, but we really want to use the black man in America as the middleman for our mineral resources. He said, we know this will make the colonizer very upset. He said, but we know that the black man and woman of America really is not ready yet. They still have the mind of the white man. But I remember hearing that. I said, man, that's deep. And so, and uh, that's right. Any other questions?
Oh, yes, sir. We got a whole bunch. We just want to let people know we coming to you, Sister Katrus. My sister Miriam says, Assalamu alaikum, family. Walaikum salam.
Oh, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, Sister Pamela Besh. Thank you very much for always showing love. Sister Gabrielle Muhammad, assalamu alaikum, dear beloved. Thank you all for watching. And for you, Sister Katrus, can you let us know? I remember you being at the final call and always, of course, seems like you were working at the mosque final call. Did you how did you get into husband? Was it your husband, or like how did you start working?
Well, I wanna go back first and just thank you so much again for this time, Brother Joshua. I mean, you the rock star as far as I could say.
And what are y'all feeding them people down there for them to be drilling so hard? They look like they be having a heart attack. Oh my God, they're so fired up. It's really, oh my God, are y'all feeding them? Y'all must be putting something in that food and drink before they come up here to the drill. Y'all got to be doing something like that.
I just want to start off by saying how I first came to the final call.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I had a sister friend of mine. We used to get high and hang out and met each other in school. And she lived on the south side. I lived on the west side. And so she told me about her uncle. Her uncle's name was Brother Willie, but he's since moved away. But she would say, oh, he's changed. He's a new person and he's doing so well. And this man always talked about all the things that as a Black person you could really relate to. And I thought that was good. But, every time we would get together, we would get high. We never could make it to the final call. But when Jesse Jackson was running to be the candidate for the presidency, and I saw the minister on Nightline, that encouraged me to want to come on my own. And I knew the only way I would get there, I had to go by myself. So I went and I don't know, between the three of them, it was either Khalid, Ava, or Agba were speaking for the first three visits. And after a while, I said, well, you know what? I'm going to come one more time, because they would always talk about Minister Farrakhan, going to come, because I really wanted to hear him. So eventually, that fourth time, I said, this is the last time I'm going to come. If he's not there, I'm not coming back. But he was there and he spoke, and it was so wonderful. And I was so happy that I came. I shook his hand. And after that, I just kept coming. And I thank Allah for accepting at that time. And I was coming for at least 2 years before I finally got my ex, and Sister Aisha was my orientation instructor.
Okay.
And, it's just a love and a specialness to me about coming at that time into the Nation of Islam at the final call. And it just seems like there was a lot of transition going over from the final call to the mosque. But I just wanted to serve and do all I could,
Beautiful. All praises due to Allah. And what was the climate like with the minister saying, helping promote Jesse Jackson and his run
Well, it was certainly a lot of
for the presidency, and that I'm listening.
It was very hostile. I mean, just the way they came against Jesse Jackson and Minister Farrakhan, and it just made the minister that much more stronger and affirmed to stand with his brother. And it was just beautiful to see that. And, that encouragement is what we needed. And that's what we need now more than ever, just to continue that, the strength of unity and seeing the value of one another, irregardless to our differences.
Beautiful. All praise due to Allah. And people are sending so much love from around the world. Okay, Sister Katrus. Okay, so you get or go through orientation. Once you do that, how do you start to then work with the staff?
After going into the Vanguard, I went into the Vanguard first.
Okay.
And that's really where I got to know your mother. And I knew her as Sister Stephanie in Chicago, but her
Yes,
name
ma'am.
changed in Atlanta. Was it Sharifa then?
Yeah, it was right before she came. So yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. And just seeing her and Sister Aisha work together so closely, they just were, to me, like stars to see. And I just remember those examples in front of me at that time, and just going to ministry class and just seeking to know as much as I could to share, and going into the community. And I didn't work for the Final Call. I never worked for the Final Call. I worked at
Okay.
MUI briefly, but
Okay.
yeah, the strength that helped me at that time, because it was really a mental health thing. I was going through a lot. It was helpful to me to see I'm doing something for somebody that makes a difference. And this was my community, Black people giving back, sharing. And again, like I said, I see the need even more now. We really, really need each other. And that's what helped me.
Beautiful. All praise.
And this brother
Yes,
right
ma'am.
here, helped me. This fine FOI, strong FOI, hanging in there after almost 40 years.
Go ahead, Richard.
Amazing.
Yes, sir. Okay. Now we're gonna come back. I want to hear the love story about how you all met. Very soon. Okay, for Brother Charles, I wanted to ask you, sir. A lot of people want to, because of the camera phones, uh, social media, just want to learn about AV and camera work and things of that nature. What advice would you give to us who see as far as the value of capturing moments in time?
Well, I think that's very important because so much stuff is happening, and you can capture some things with your iPhones or your regular phones. But of course, with your phones, you don't have the ability to white balance, even though there's automatic or zoom in or focus that much like you can do it on a professional camera, and the professional camera gives you much more uh, things to do, and also once you record, you can record on a card, and the card you could edit it, and I think the more people shoot stuff, the more we have all this different history. I mean, there's so much stuff really to shoot, and especially among Black people right now. I mean, with all these changes taking place,
Yeah.
And I thought about when my wife said that. She said she heard Minister Farrakhan supporting Jesse Jackson for I guess, running for the presidency. And one thing I remember at the time when the Jews were attacking the minister, attacking Jesse Jackson, and they had got Jesse Jackson to I guess repudiate Minister Farrakhan. That was the word.
Yes, sir.
and uh, and many Black people who weren't Muslims, they really were negative against Jesse Jackson. But I remember the Minister Farrakhan said, "Look," he said, "Jesse Jackson is my brother, and I love my brother." He said, "And we're not done with him." And he understood that. He said that Jesse Jackson, in order to get the presidency, he has to really get the white vote because of the amount of Black people and white people in America. And he understands why Jesse had to say what he had to say. And I just look at that as a learning lesson for us to understand how we have to be patient with each other and forgive each other and then work with each other and remember the bigger picture. And I think that's why he said that he wasn't going to talk a lot about Obama from what he learned about his situation with Jesse Jackson. But about the camera video, was like what you're doing is fantastic to capture these moments of different people, and I look for your show being used overseas, and I watch different African leaders, and I do see the connection taking place now because many African countries are throwing out the French, throwing out America, and they saying, get on out of here. We want to support our own self, and next you're gonna see them supporting us, and we're gonna be supporting each other.
Beautiful. All praise due to Allah. And people are showing you all love, saying that's right, teach, go ahead. For you, Sister Katrus, the sisterhood is very important to, of course, the community, but primarily in the Nation of Islam, dealing with the young sisters. And from what you learned as a young, I didn't know you were a young vanguard. Went back to jazz. I didn't know any. I just knew your children. You know what I'm saying? Knew you through the lens of your children.
I know David would love to
What
see.
was so special? I would love to see him as well. What is so special about the the vanguard and the young sisters that you learned back in the day that you can teach to the new generation?
Well, I know when I first came in the nation, I really just felt like, I had my baby. I really thought it was too much, but it turned out that that was exactly what we needed coming in to get the physical training, to get the discipline, to bond as sisters, to get to understand one another better. And that doesn't ever get old. So I would say, for sisters that are, I don't know what the ages are for Vanguard, what are the ages right now, but we as older sisters now, I'm 60. I can't believe I'm 60. But I'm so grateful in this day to be able to look back. I feel like a different person, but I'm the same person. But I just feel a lot more strengthened in the time and history and the love that has been invested in me to help me to see and have the desire to give back. And that's what it does. I think it roots down into you, the value of one another and to understand how important it is to get this so you can give it. So that's what I got. I got a lot to give now, I feel.
All praise to Allah. And Sister Katrina, should they go to social media? Should they send an email
To who?
to you if the young sisters that want to learn from you and get your advice?
Oh, certainly. Certainly. My email is my name, KATRIUSM @yahoo.com. But certainly go to your local study group and mosque to be trained by the MGT for sure. Can't lose with that one.
Yes, ma'am. All praise due to Allah. Thank you all very much. And then we're reading all of the comments. Walaikum salam, Sister Naima. And thank you, everybody who's tapping in from around the world. For you, Brother Charles, what was it like during the time of the Million Man March and the impact you during that time period?
Oh my goodness. The Man March. I remember
Close the door.
I remember uh bringing our cameras to Washington D.C. and
Close the door.
it was just it's really astounding because the minister he put out the word, and then I was at a meeting in Washington D.C. and there were different preachers. There's a Reverend Stallings. There's a preacher he was the leader of the Hebrew Israelite nation. Benjamin Israel, and
Yes, sir.
he was at a particular church, and I remember, and this particular preacher, Stallings said that how, you know, many people have issues with the ministers, but really they have an issue really with a Muslim calling the Man March on this Day of Atonement. That's what the real issue is. He said, but I remember him saying, this is going to be more than 1 million, this is going to be 2 million people. I remember him saying this is before the Man March. He said there's going to be 2 million people here. And, but of course, I do remember the minister saying that on this particular day, we have to really watch out for troublemakers, the people that are trying to cause an issue. And I do remember when we had some of our cameras, we were setting them up. there was a particular brother. He was he was he was down on the trying to get up on a certain area, and he didn't have a pass. And everybody, well, all of us had to have a certain pass to get on different areas of Washington D.C. around there. And this particular brother was saying, "I can't believe we're at this Man March, and we're gonna these crackers are gonna not allow us to come up there after all these years." And I remember telling some FOI, I said, "Look, we need to get him." I said, because he's trying to cause us to go against these other people that we're working with. And they actually grabbed him because I think he was trying to get somebody to do something. And but I just remember the Minister Farrakhan's instruction. He said we're gonna crush anybody that's gonna try to cause a problem there. And and it was just so many people. And I do remember looking out in 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 the background, and I just could not believe how many people was there. And evidently, uh, Allah made it cool down, it cooled the weather down, so it cooled the audience down too. And and it was just really astounding. So, and I just remember getting as shots as we could, and I was basically recording the event, and we had certain cameras going different areas, getting other shots, and it was just it's outstanding, and it's a time where, of course, the devil and ignorant black people want to write it out of history right now, right now. So we have to really remind people that it took place. And most every black person that I know has heard of the Man March, except for some that are younger in certain areas where I go to, what isn't how they know black people at all. They're like, "What's that?" And I explain what it is and show them pictures. They just can't even believe it. But not only that, after the Man March, we went overseas, and the world leaders congratulated Mr. Farrakhan about that. They said, we saw it over there, and they were like astounded, so on. And then with the men more movement, the men family march, and then the men woman march after that. So it wasn't just that; it was really a lot after that. So
That's right.
and
Mhm.
that's all I can say right now. So
Okay, great. Praise be to Allah. Thank you very much, Brother Charles. Now, for you, Sister Katrias, what was it like as a proud wife, mother during the time of the Million Man March? How did you feel as a sister to see all of the men headed to Washington, D.C.?
Well, I just was really overwhelmed with all of it. And it was something that, I think many people that are younger aren't even aware of. I've spoken to some people, they don't even know about the Million Man March. But at that time, just seeing how wonderful and magnificent, the different people came together in spite of everything else. It was so touching and just unbelievable, really. I'm just grateful to have witnessed it. You know, yeah.
Beautiful. And now, Sister Katrias, we the there are a lot of young sisters who watch the podcast by the grace of Allah. What advice would you give to future mothers?
Future mothers.
Yes, ma'am.
I say make sure that you take care of yourself before you get pregnant. Make sure you're eating right. Make sure you're thinking right and doing things that keep you healthy and strong before. And so that when you do conceive, make sure you protect and guard your thoughts and be mindful of the environment you put yourself in because it I remember I had a teacher years ago say to me, his mother had 5 or 6 children, and out of all of those 5 or 6 children, they were actually doing what she had prayed for them to be doing in their lives. So as adults, they actually manifested physically what she had prayed for. So I mean, as a young person, sometimes you just don't understand the depth of these things, but I really believe it matters. So just being mindful of everything around you all the time, but certainly if you're bringing a new life into the world and just do the best you can and have support if you can.
Excellent. I'll praise to Allah. And Brother Charles, for you, sir, what advice would you give to future fathers?
oh well, first of all, for our fathers to learn who you are and really to join into the Nation of Islam to get a history of yourself and become and learn how to become fathers and fighters for your own family. Many of us, if we wrap into this world, we just learn how to be how to get high and chase girls and get a job and get rich and just and 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 complete the cycle of just chasing girls and many men or boys are afraid to settle down to one person. And so, but and we don't realize the reward for doing that. But of course we have to be taught that, and no better place than the Nation of Islam to be taught that.
That's right.
And as I think my wife, she said that's why she wanted a father for her son for David, and she brought him to the final call, and he came into my life, and we had a lot of fun coming together, a lot of trials and tribulations, but he went to Muhammad University for a while. He had one of his teachers was Brother Shahid,
Yes,
brother
sir. Yes, sir.
brother Robert, and and but you know, as fathers, we have to learn self and get disciplined and try to support and we have to learn how to support ourselves and then support our families.
Yeah.
And really relate to understand the value, like I said, of family. And many of us don't know that.
Yeah, I just want to add something too, because for me, I became a parent at 17. So I was pretty young and I didn't know anything and it was scary. But what I did know at that time is that I wanted to do the best that I could. And, getting high and hanging out just wasn't the thing anymore. I knew that that wouldn't work. And I started to look for a home for my son and I, for like a home base, a prayer, church, something. So before coming to the final call, I was just going around searching for a home for us in that way. But what I did after all of it is I made sure my children knew how to pray. And I knew that even if they didn't accept my faith, I wanted them to at least know and have a relationship with God. To me, that's so critical. And I
Yes,
did
ma'am.
the best that I could with each and every one of them. And I thank Allah that we have a strong MGT in Tanetta, in Indianapolis, soldiering with Brother Nori, just loving it to death.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, all of them know how to pray, and all of them do know God as we represent it in our efforts to serve and show a good example. So we've tried.
That's incredible. And people are bear witness all around the world. Thank you all. People saying that's right, teach. Beautiful. Uh, Brother Charles, for the single brothers who are watching, how did you know that Sister Katrias was the one? Like, what advice would you give to people looking like to say, this is fine. You said settle down to a good choice and, don't just be out here chasing women. What was it about Sister Katrias that you knew it was time?
Well, that's interesting that you said that. With Sister Katrina and I, we were on a video shoot with Sister Aisha, and there was a man named Nate Grant, who Akbar used to work with, and we were shooting a commercial. It was across the street from the final call, and basically the commercial was Sister Katrina. She was gonna act as the person who lived there. Then his brother named Brother Johnny. He was the paper captain. He was trying to come to sell the paper, and as we were shooting the different angles of that, the brother knocking on the door, her answering the door, and then we were sitting down, and we was in the living room just resting for a minute. I said, sister, I said, you okay? I just asked her, was she doing okay? And she said, yeah. She asked me, how am I doing? And how's your wife? I said, my wife. Oh, it didn't go like that.
No.
Okay. But anyway. I said, I'm not married right now. I did say, I'm not really ready for marriage. And I did tell her, she probably don't remember, I did tell her that. And she said, you ready? I said, I'm not really spiritually and financially ready. She said, well, she believes that you don't have to be rich to be married. She said, but she said that she believes that brother and sister can work together, and then become rich. And when she said that, I think, this is the one for me right here. Oh my God. Not that I want to be a vagabond, but when I heard her say that she was willing to work with me, I said, I said, I said, "Oh, okay." And and later on, we just started courting, and yep, and that's it.
I want to add something to that because this brother just condensed like a 6 month period into one day. And
Okay.
what had happened was uh it was a video production, and Sister Aisha was on the video crew at the time. I didn't know any of them, but brother kept coming over to me asking me, is the sky blue? You know, just anything. So I'm thinking this must be his wife because they was working together. I just assumed that they were married. Of course, sister was married, but they weren't married. And I eventually she came and asked me. Sister Aisha asked me at that time, "Are you married?" And I suppose she was asking because she could see he was interested. And I was really like annoyed with them. I'm like, "What is this? I'm just here to do this video thing." So one thing led to another.
She was nervous and I was trying to calm her down. That's all.
Yeah. So one thing led to another, and before I
That's right, Richard.
yeah, we just I got on the video crew, and then eventually we got to know each other better, and I thank Allah because we've had our issues. I mean, we've been up and down, but after almost 40 years, 1986, we got married. I have to say I'm so grateful that Allah chose him for me because I honestly was
vice versa.
I had written down a list of what I wanted and what I felt I had to offer, and I was hoping to find a father for my child and settle down. And marriages, it can be tough, especially when you don't know a whole lot. And so, over time, we've gone to marriage conferences and different things like that, and had our separation time, came back together, and this is like our second half. And I have to say, out of this second half, sometimes I lay at night and think on how this brother has my back, like I don't even know and understand. But I thank Allah because I pray that I am that too. So, as the pillar that I pray we are to one another, my prayer is for anyone thinking of starting a family or being married or being a Muslim or just trying to do the right thing. Just trust Allah knows best for you. So what I was looking for, I saw bits and pieces, but now after nearly 40 years, I can say I see the full bloom of what I saw the potential of now in this young man sitting here. I think he's such a nice young man.
That's beautiful. And people are saying, "Oh, love." That's great. And for you, Brother Charles, how has becoming a grandfather impacted you?
Oh my goodness. The continuation of life. To see my son and his children, and my daughters and their children.
Mm.
They are really an example of why I need to strive harder and harder and harder, really for self. So and every time we have children, we know we have to really create something for these children, especially this day, where we're gonna be really forced to come together anyway and support our own selves. So this is really a good thing that's happened because we're gonna be supporting ourselves without the help of anybody but Allah.
Yeah.
So, but having grandchildren fortified my mind to don't consider suicide, no matter how hard it gets, to just go through the trials, So work hard and be right because we're doing it for our future.
Beautiful.
That's for sure.
Excellent, Richard. You teaching? How has being a grandmother impacted you?
Well, I thank Allah for my children first because my hope was that they would be good parents to their children. So I wanted to, in my efforts to serve, to give them a good example to be that. And so being a grandmother now is so precious to me because it just shows such a good example to, if you just hang in there. I mean, it's difficult, but if you just hang in there and give the fruit of life a chance to see the beauty of what you have put an effort towards, it manifests. So that's what I see in my grandchildren when I think of, the things I want and would like it to be. It's the way it should be. So I'm grateful. I'm just grateful.
Yes, ma'am. And now, Sister Katrina, thank you for your manifest and talking about the positivity and the power of the mind. Why is that something that is important to you, and why is it something that should be important to all of us?
Positivity?
Yes, ma'am. And manifesting, like power of the mind, things of that nature.
Well, I try to find the good in everything. I really do. Because growing up on the west side of Chicago in the 70s was pretty rough.
Mm.
And so not feeling prepared as a young adult and now looking back, it's still difficult being Black in America, period. So at least it has been for me. I can't speak for everybody. But in that, we've had a tremendous amount of trials with our personal family. And it was in a legal way. So with that, because it had been a long-standing issue, I just felt like I had to find a way to release this thing because it felt like it was either gonna make me other than myself in a bad way, or I would just, not be well. So what I started to do for myself is I found the art in me. I mean, I used to do theater.
Okay.
I wasn't doing theater anymore, but I had to have something in my hand that I could tangibly do to release the stress. And so for me, I started painting. And that's what I do. And when I feel I'm not feeling well, I just start painting and let it go. And I paint until I feel better. And it works. But if I'm not doing that, I'll send out cards. What helps is to just get it out of my head and do something for somebody else or to do something to release this thing because it just seems like a tremendous amount of negativity in the atmosphere. It's just heavy. Mm. So I just think it's important to find ways of adapting and adjusting that works for you. And just seems like mental illness is on the rise real bad. I used to work at a psychiatric hospital and it was really bad to see the children coming in. So I just see the need and the value of trying to see the positive every day, all the time.
Excellent. Now, Sister Katrina, were you ever in the play with my mother and Sister Winifred and Sister Mark? Like, were you ever in those plays?
Yes, and I just took note because out of all of that experience, and that's what I said, it just becomes a root in you to give back. And we had such a wonderful time working together. And that's how I really got to know your mother, Sister Stephanie. I want to call her Sister Stephanie, but I know that wasn't her name.
That's fine, man. It's all good.
But yeah, we worked together in about 2 or 3 plays. And
okay.
It was really, really fun just to, certain moments I think back on that really stand out in my mind with her. And she was a master of it. I mean, she just kicked butt, She was something.
Yeah. Beautiful. And for you, Brother Charles, what are some of the things that you do to relax? Is it music, movies? Do you have a acting thing, painting? What do you do for fun, sir?
Well, I don't do as much exercise as I should, but sometimes I'll do a lot of different push-ups.
Okay.
And I'll do a little video production and edit it just to check my editing skills, make sure my computer still works. And then beyond that, I'll watch TV more than I should, but yeah, and that's basically it. So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, Brother Charles, one of the stories that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan spoke of at Savior's Day was him being on the plane
Hmm.
overseas and them giving the wrong coordinates, them basically trying to assassinate the minister on foreign folk on the interview. Everybody go back and watch the first interview I did, Brother Charles. You spoke about actually being over there with the minister and during that time. Could you tell us that again?
Yes, sir. I remember we was on a plane that we was heading from, I think from Nigeria to Siberia, and we were on, and they had picked up somebody. I think it was a Russian, or actually he wasn't. They picked up somebody, but I remember we were on the way to Russia, and I remember uh, I guess they was having a discussion about which way to go, and and what happened is for some reason the air traffic controller couldn't understand what the pilot was saying or vice versa. And I found this out after the fact. And I know that as we was coming in that area, all of a sudden we were sitting in the back, the minister was sitting in front with his guests, and all of a sudden the plane did like a dip down to the left and then a dip up to the right. And I remember the stuff on our table actually flew off the table. I'm like, okay. But in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I know I know we was with a lie. That's what I thought anyway.
Yeah.
So I really wasn't afraid, but I know this is unusual. And so and the planes leveled off, and finally, when he finally landed, uh, I'm not sure if it was after, I think it's after he said that he had got the pilot had got the wrong information from the air traffic controller, and the air traffic controller told him to fly through these clouds, and the pilot couldn't see, and that's why he took a big dip up, so he could see where it was going, and that's why the stuff flew off the table, and he said that if he didn't take a dip up, we'd have flown right into this mountain. And but I do remember him saying that, and and the pilot's name was I think it was Iqbal, I think, but
Mm.
he was a Muslim, and but I do remember that, and we landed and once we landed in Siberia, it was like snowing like crazy and everything. Oh my God! And that's when they showed on the world tour where the people came out there with the swords and dancing and everything, and I remember seeing that. It was really amazing, but I do remember that particular time. And but that was like the, in a sense, scariest. And yeah, and I do remember, as a matter of fact, when I was on a plane and there was a thing with Ali Baghdadi, and there was a Christian named Reverend Al Sampson was on the plane, and Ali Baghdadi used to collect brochures for his Palestinian journal, and he had let Reverend Al Sampson borrow one of his newspapers, and they almost got into it. And the man named Charles Barbette, he was the one that was getting the organized the fight to a degree.
Yes, sir.
He had to get in between these two people to settle an argument. I'm like, it's all, but that was the most impact. But I do remember that very well. Yeah.
Praise be to Allah. And I had the honor of getting to know Brother Charles Bobbitt in the latter years of his life in Atlanta. He would come to the mosque and he would hear me speak and see us drill. So may Allah be
Mhm.
pleased with him. And he tells stories about Michael Jackson. You know, he used to manage Michael Jackson playing
That's
James
right.
Brown and
And
this stuff. So,
and James Brown, yes, yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Mhm.
Okay, Brother Charles, has there ever been a time where you were faced with fear in life in general with your travels and being in the States or overseas? Uh, Another time you had to face fear, and how did you overcome that fear?
Well, the only thing that was close to that was when we was in Jordan, and Jan Louis Farrakhan said that we have an opportunity to go to Palestine. I mean, to Israel. He said, and we're going to do this. And he said, but all of y'all don't have to go. We need some people to stay behind anyway. So he took us into a room and he asked everybody, what do they think about it? And and some people were saying how, I mean, one person was saying about how, well, he knew that if he was going there and if he dies, that's it. And but when it came to me, I'm like, I said, I must be crazy because I don't have any fear. I'm just thinking, I'm just hyped up. Because I figured and and it was that, I knew that if Allah was with us, he's not gonna allow anything to happen to the minister anyway. I just knew that anyway, so I didn't have any fear. But
Beautiful.
and that's all I can say about that time. So.
Yes, sir. Okay, but did you all go or go to
Oh
how,
yeah, yes sir. We went to Israel and I remember once we got there, I mean we was riding in the van and it's like a small van and somebody just has a gun kept on hitting my butt and I do remember even I was afraid. One of the Palestinians asked me, he said, "Where you from? Where you from?" I said, "I'm from Chicago." He said, "Oh, you from Chicago? Oh man, you from Chicago? You from Chicago?" I'm thinking, "Yeah, I'm from Chicago. You in Palestine too? I mean, why are you tripping about me being from Chicago?" And but I remember he was like, "Oh, that is so terrible. Oh my God!" But I remember that shows you how the media is also. But I remember we was in the same room with Yasser Arafat, and the lights went out for a second. But I turned my little flashlight on, and I think Todd, I turned the flashlight on, and then the lights came back. I think someone hit the switch with the back or something. But Yasser Arafat was explaining the damage that Israel was putting on the people and how they was losing millions of dollars a day. They couldn't import, they couldn't export. They had to have badges and passes going every place. They wouldn't get their garbage picked up, and it was really and that was in the 90s. But I mean, it was just so tremendous then. It's like, oh my goodness, and to see what's happening right now, just like I heard recently that they said over 50,000 people have been killed in Palestine, and of course Trump wants to use that as oil. So yeah, but I guess it's getting close to the time where we have to get ready to go anyway. So, but
okay. Yes, sir. Okay, I got one more question for you, Sister Katrias. Thank you, Bro Charles. Powerful. Yeah, but Sister Katrias, what we also wanted to know is um what what was it like for you being a woman, being seeing your husband go across the country during that time? Were you ever nervous?
Um,
Were you
nervous about him traveling, you mean?
yes, ma'am, and being gone?
Well, I mean, I had trust that what he was doing to me was worth the risk to make the difference. So, of course, we pray, but we work and we do
Mm,
what needs to be done. So I wasn't afraid for him traveling, no, because I felt confident, like he said, he's traveling with the man of God. What could go wrong?
mm.
That was my mindset. I mean, I had my own issues at that time with small children and that, but no, I wasn't worried about that. No.
Okay, okay. Last question. Can we, inshallah, can we set up a part two, perhaps in person, if you all come to Atlanta or if I'm coming to Michigan, so we can do this again?
Hey,
I would love to put the camera on you. That's for sure.
oh,
Yes, we
hey,
said.
thank you so much for what you're doing, brother. I mean,
Thank you.
honest and truly, it's so important for we as believers to have the opportunity to have a platform to share what we know, what we live, what we believe, and just give an opportunity for others to see in this window. And you are the gatekeeper, and we thank you for that.
Praise be to Allah. We love you all. I miss you all. Please give your children the greetings,
Praise the Lord. And
Thank you,
likewise,
brother.
you.
grandchildren. And this is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, fam.
Wa alaikum
Islam.